Welcome to Tuesday's story. Today we're going to talk about a baby brother and a brave big sister. And their names are Moses and Miriam. Now yesterday we looked at Joseph and his brothers and how much Pharaoh loved Joseph and all the things that he did for Egypt. And today we have a new Pharaoh. And the new Pharaoh really didn't like the Israelites. Now the Israelites are God's people who are living in Egypt. And he wanted to make their lives really miserable. And that's where our story starts. You see, when baby Moses, here's my Moses, was born in Egypt, Pharaoh didn't like the Israelites. He was threatened by them because there were so many of them. And he made them slaves. And he made them build the pyramids and to do hard labor and hard work. And he didn't like that there were so many, so he told his soldiers to take the babies under the age of 2, throw them in the river. How terrible is that? That's awful. Anyway, but Moses' mum loved him so much and didn't want him thrown in the river. But not only did his mum love him, but so did his big sister Miriam. Now, they were able to keep him at home for a little while. They kept him quiet so that soldiers wouldn't hear. But there comes a stage when babies aren't quiet anymore. And that is when Moses' mum hatched a plan. Now, what do you think the plan might have been? Was it 1, to give her baby to Pharaoh? 2, was it to move to another country? Or 3, was it to put her baby in a basket in the bulrushes? If you chose number 3, you're right. Moses' mum was going to put her baby in a basket in the bulrushes. I do think number 2 may have been a better choice, moving to another country. But you see, God had a plan for Moses. And so Moses' mum took her baby and put him in a basket like this. But I'm sure that the one that she used was waterproof. Then placed him in the bulrushes. Now, do you know what bulrushes are? They look like this. And Moses' mum placed him in the bulrushes. And this is where Miriam comes in. Moses' mum placed her baby in the bulrushes. And Miriam was brave. And she went and hid nearby to watch over her brother. Because where Moses' mum had placed her baby was right where Pharaoh's daughter comes to bathe. Now, if you're trying to hide your baby, why would you put it somewhere that people would find it? That was God's plan. God's plan was for Pharaoh's daughter to find the baby. Well, here she comes down to the river to bathe, and she hears the baby, finds the baby, picks him up and falls in love with him instantly. And this is where Miriam has to have some courage. Miriam steps out of her hiding place and steps forward in front of Pharaoh's daughter and says, "Would you like me to find someone to care for your baby?" You see, when you're royalty, you don't bring up your own children. You have other people to care for them. So Miriam had asked if she could do that. And she said yes. So Miriam, off she goes to find somebody to care for Moses. Now, who do you think she went to find? Do you think 1, that it was a friend? 2, that it was Moses' mum? Or 3, that it was a grandma in the village? Now, if you chose number 2, you were right. Miriam went to get her own mum, Moses' mum, to come and care for her. You see, that meant that Moses could grow up with his own family and be looked after by his own mum. And when he got to an age of about 12, he went to live in the palace with Pharaoh's daughter. Now, what Miriam did may not seem like much, but she showed great love for her brother. She cared for him so much and wanted to look after him. And because she had courage to do that, Moses was saved and he grew up to be a man in Egypt. And that was really important because God had a plan for Moses. He had a big plan. His plan for Moses was to be a rescuer of the Israelites, God's people, from slavery, to save them. Now, that was God's plan for Moses, to be a rescuer. But further in the Bible, and tomorrow, we might hear a little bit more about a better rescuer than Moses.